Hey guys, and welcome back to another Unfiltered Gamer board game review. And in today's game, up on the tabletop, we have Cities of Venus Survivors by Tin Robot Games. It's a 2 to 6 player game, takes roughly 45 minutes to an hour to play, and it's for ages 13 and up. And in the game, you're playing as a citizen of Earth that have established floating cities in the skies of Venus. And then you collapse and crash onto the planet's surface, and you find survivors, and you're basically attempting to customize a city to hopefully allow you to ascend back to Earth's population. But the area is rough and cavernous and dangerous, and you're working together to try and do your best to make sure you get that launched back up. In the game, you're basically going to be doing a die chucker, where you'll be rolling dice, attempting to get straights, runs, and like sets, as well as like full house, Yahtzee, that kind of thing, utilizing your dice, manipulating them, and then eventually getting polyominoes, which you'll be placing on your kind of surface area, your grid here. Completing them is going to score you victory endgame condition points, as well as a number of other things. But basically, when you reach the final total of 5, the game will end and you'll trigger the launch, in which everybody will actually launch. They'll roll their dice and any bonus dice, and then they'll manipulate them to try and get the largest Yahtzee they possibly can. If you have the most, you are the winner of the game. We'll talk about how to set the game up, how to play, and of course, my review. To begin the game, Cities of Venus, the first thing you do is you take out the insert. The insert is used for play. You'll place all the polynomials in the insert, as well as the 4 different resources: the objective tokens, the androids, and the pink and black ore. Place it within reach of all players. Give each player a player board. The player board will be blank, and you'll get 4 of these red dice, each player. Set aside the rest of the red dice. If there are extras, you won't need those. Then give each player a token. The orange, or I should say pink, and the blue token, and place it on the pink side. Each player is also going to get a starting location here. It's going to have a back that looks like a little robot digging. This is the starting locations. Each player will get 1. The rest of them will be placed aside. Place the pink ores on the locations, as well as the robot, and then you've got your full player set up. For the middle of the area, you're going to go ahead and take the mechanical deck, shuffle it, and deal out 4 to create a little store. Take all the pink dice and place them within reach of all players, and the deck of these tiles, the front and back tiles, shuffle them up and place them within reach. The last thing is the action cards. There are 6 action cards, and you'll take a number of players -1 for each of them, and they are going to be placed stacked up in 6 different little areas for people to grab. So if I wanted the +1, -1, I could take one of those, or the flipping the die, rotating, changing to a 3 or 4, or -2. After that, set aside any extra player boards you don't need or extra location markers with the back, and you're ready to begin the game Cities of Venus. It's a simple setup. Cities of Venus is played in rounds, and they are simultaneous. So every player will take the turn, and then when their turn is over, they will flip their marker, and when all players have flipped their marker, you're going to rinse and repeat. So everybody's constantly playing this game. The way it works is you'll be rolling dice, assigning dice, gaining various resources and polynomials, placing polynomials on locations and taking resources from the locations, hopefully scoring some type of victory objective marker, as well as cards here, and then rinse and repeating. Here's how a turn works. A, take your red dice and roll them. Once you roll them, you can then assign them, and we'll cover each of the assignment spots going from top to bottom, left to right. The first slot is a 3 slot, and you can place any 3 dice there, and you will gain a polynomial with 2. The next space is the run spot. You can place 3 or 4. 3 run is 2, 3, 4, or 4, 5, 6, and a 4 run is 2, 3, 4, 5, or 1, 2, 3, 4. Either way, you can make a run, and when you make your run, you will either get a 3 polynomial, or if you go the next step, you'll get a 4 with a run of 4. The spot next to that is a black gem. You'll simply take a black gem after you've placed a die there and place it in your little bottom right area. The next space is a full house. You'll need 3 of a kind and 2 of a kind. So with just your 4 dice, you will never be able to get this. You must get new dice in order to trigger the 3 of a kind and 2 of a kind, aka the full house. The next area is Yahtzee. That's what I call it, at least. Basically, you have to have dice of the same type. 2 2s, 3 2s, 4 2s, and 5 2s. 2 2s will get you a 1 polynomial, basically a little small marker. 3 will get you a card that has the little mechanic symbol that you'll place on the right-hand side of your game board. The pink one is up next at 4. Basically, you'll get one of these little pink markers here. These you'll place on the bottom right-hand side of your game board, and it is a way in which you can go ahead and gain those pink dice for the next round, so that you can have more dice. And the final one is kind of a little atom symbol. These are end-of-game objectives. Once you get 5 of these, or any player gets 5 of these, the game is going to trigger the ending for the final launch. Bottom left-hand side, 4 little spots that say +1, -1. You can place dice here to change dice in your field by +1 or -1, but you can never go from 6 to 1 or 1 to 6. And then your final area here, which I already talked about, is a spot where you'll place gems. You can never have more than 8, and you can only place the black and the pink ones here. And that is what you'll be doing. You'll be allocating dice to locations, taking polynomials, and gaining ore. Now, there's a few other things. When you take a polynomial, so let's just say that I actually got a run of 3, 4, 5, 6. I would take this 3 polynomial, and when you have them, you must place them. You'll place them on your game board, and the only rule to start with is it has to be placed on the blue robot. So you'll place it on the blue robot and have it connect anywhere. The other thing, too, is whenever you place additional polynomials, they must be placed adjacent to a previous one you have placed. And if you ever want to place a polynomial off of a board, you'll have to actually go ahead and take a new board and attach it to your previous one. And you always have to place your polynomial next to one you already have. So if I wanted to get another one, I'd place it and it would connect to the previous one, adding another board. You can never have more than 4 boards though. And once you have 4, you have to start placing on them. Additionally, if you ever cover a location with a gem or a robot, you will take those and place them in their respective locations. A pink gem will go into the bottom right corner for extra dice, as well as for +1, -1s for the black ones. And the robots here, if you acquire one of these fancy robots, you'll place it in the left-hand side of your game board. You'll see 4 robot spots. You'll place the robot in that location, and then you will take one of these actions. You can never have more than 1 of each type, and you can never have more than 4 total. And each of them do a different thing as far as it comes to your dice. You'll place the action next to the robot that you acquired, and now every round, once a round, you can use your action. The actions are as follows. Turn a die into a 3, turn a die into a 4, make your die go -2, +1, -1, rotate your die, and re-roll your die. And these can all be used once a round. So if you have all 4 robots, you can use all 4 in a given round. And additionally, at the beginning of a round, if you want, you can spend the pink die, or the pink ore, to gain a pink die. This die will only last for 1 round. So once you've gone ahead and ended your round and started a new one, you can take the pink ore that you'd like, as many as you'd like, and add dice. So now you have extra dice that you can now utilize. And you can use, of course, any of your abilities. Whenever the card is on the right-hand side, that means it's an active ability. And whenever it's on the left, that means it is inactive, because you can see that red spot saying no guy available. But you're always going to get them and refresh them at the end of every round. The last thing is, of course, this little guy here. This is a black ore. This is used just like the spots adjacent to it. It can increase or decrease a die by +1 or -1, right? And the last thing is little mechanics, actually. These little mechanical cards here. When you acquire a set of 3 of a kind, and you place it in the middle right-hand side location, that is going to get you one of these cards, either from the top of the deck or one of these 4 here. And they'll do a variety of things, turning a die into a 2 or a 5, re-rolling 2 extra dice, plussing or minusing 1 for 4 different dice, etc., etc. Gaining 2 black ores. And these can be utilized just once, as opposed to the abilities, which are used once a round. Once you utilize these, and you have a total of 4 of them, you're going to flip them over. And if you do acquire all 4, you'll actually get an end game objective token, and you'll place it in the top right-hand side of your game board. The other way you'll get objective tokens is by completing one of your grids. If you complete a single grid of the 4 that you have, you'll get 2 objective tokens. So you'll either get them, A, by completing your full rung of 4 of the different mechanical cards, or B, you can actually get them, 2 of them, from filling out a full board here. And the last way you can get one is by completing 5 of a kinds. If you can do 5 of a kind on the middle right-hand side of your game board, hitting that pink circle thing, you're going to go ahead and take another one. And basically, once you've got all 5 here, at the end of the round is a launch. So regardless of how many other people have, if you have finished your board with having 5 of these markers, you're going to do a launch. And launches are pretty cool. How they work is you're going to take your 4 dice. You are going to discard all of your markers. In this case, let's say I got all 5, and I would take 5 pink dice for doing that. And then I'm only going to be allowed to utilize my black ore and my abilities when I do this phase. I can't use my mechanical cards, and I can't use my pink dice to give me more dice. I just get my 4 plus as many of the objective markers that I had, and everybody else would do the same thing as well. Doesn't matter how many dice they get at the end, they're still participating at the final launch. And how this works is you'll simply take your dice, roll all your dice, and you're going to check them. I've got 2 5s, 2 4s, 2 1 3, and 2 6s. And I am trying to make a run, or I should say, I'm trying to make a Yahtzee of as many of one as I possibly can. Higher die is obviously better, so I would like to get 6 6s over 6 5s. And I'm going to use my abilities if I can. I'll go ahead and rotate my 1 into a 6 to give me 3 6s. I'll spend one of my black ores to give me a 5 to a 6. I'll spend another black ore to give me another 5 to a 6. And now I have got 5 6s. Sadly, my 2 4 and my 2 3 and 2 4s are not changeable. The one gem is not going to do it. I don't have any other abilities that could do that. But if I did, I could use them. And this is what I would launch in for my lock code. I got 5 6s. Whoever has the largest run of the highest number is the winner, and the runs are more important than the numbers. So if I have 5 dice of the same type and you have 4 and you have 6s and I have 1s, my 5 will win because I have more dice. And that's the game. That's how you win. There's no scoring points or anything. You just roll all the dice at the end, try and get a Yahtzee as big as you possibly can, and if you can do it, you win. Cities of Venus Survivors is a dice placement game. You'll be taking dice, rolling those dice, and assigning those dice into locations. Locations are going to give you polynomials, which will let you build onto your grid here. There are also ore that you can gain for pink, which will give you additional dice for your next round, or black, which will let you rotate and change your dice to higher numbers, as well as simply using special abilities on the cards. There's also mechanical cards you can take that you will not only utilize, kind of like you would use a black ore, but also if you get 4 of them, you'll score an endgame victory marker. And your abilities, your androids, your most powerful cards in the game, the most important cards. These, as you basically fill up your boards and fill over androids, you'll gain those androids, and thusly you're going to gain the benefits. Another thing I forgot to mention too when I was talking about the game and how you play it, when you gain new locations, you're actually going to fill those locations the moment they come on the board. I mean, that kind of I felt was obvious, but just in case, you're going to place all 3 of your gems on there and you're going to fill your android on there so that you're always going to have new ore when new tiles come out. But once you have covered over it, you keep it. The other thing too is that on the grids here, some of them are going to have little wall areas, and you cannot place your markers or polynomials over them. So I can't cover a space. I have to go around it and cover the whole grid here. And if I can cover the whole grid, remember, you're going to get those 2 victory objective markers, and you need 5 in order to end the game for the launch. And completing that as fast as possible is very important. Having extra resources along the way is going to be useful as well. Being able to rotate and change your dice, use your abilities is going to be very, very imperative. This game is a cool manipulation dice placement game. I really, really enjoyed this game. Throughout the entire game, I was never bored, constantly taking actions and turns along with everyone else. Everyone is responsible for their own board, their own dice, and their own actions, so obviously don't play with cheaters, because cheaters will cheat, and they will utilize their abilities extra times. Something you probably don't have to worry about. It's a minor thing though, to be aware, and you can pay attention to other players' boards. It is important to do so because you want to know how far along in the game they are. Additionally, you want to know because there is a limited number of actions, and it's -1 of the number of players. So you're not guaranteed to get each of the actions that you want. So deciding whether you want to cover your robots early or go for filling in a grid is going to be really up to you. I would suggest, obviously, to gain as many androids as possible, and maybe a few of the mechanical cards along the way. And maybe you want to go for the Yahtzee victory, where you're constantly rolling for 5 of a kind so that you can get the objectives done. Or fill out your grid to thusly create your cities and give yourself those points that way. There's about 3 different unique ways in which you can go about trying to win the game. And there's a lot of sub-unique stylizations that you can go through as well as to what actions that you take and what cards that you use and when you choose to use them. The end of the game is basically the launch. The launch kind of sucks. Like, it's only one drawback I have to the game. Basically, roll dice and gain the benefits for what you've done, which feels good. It feels good to like, okay, I have 5, everybody else had 4 or 3, so I have the most likelihood of winning. Except when you roll a bunch of like 1s and 3s and stuff, or like 1s and 6s, and so you can't really maneuver your dice as well. I mean, it is partially your fault. There's a lot of manipulation that you can do to get your best scoring, but it definitely does feel a little bit like luck. It is a good way, I suppose, in one aspect, because a player who's kind of in dead last and feels like they can't win the game will still have a chance to win at the end, but I also don't think it really supports playing better when a player does win in that fashion. My only slight grimace about the game is obviously ending, but everything else is really fun. I love the actions in the game, I love the dice manipulation, I like how it starts off really slow and you're just basically maybe getting a 2, or maybe you're actually just getting a 1 and a die here so that you can go ahead and utilize them for next turn. You're kind of focusing on building up. But once you've built your engine, even if you don't have extra dice, you can convert these and simply start getting 4 polynomials over and over again. There's a limited number of these polynomials as well, but there's a wide variety of options, and it feels good to select the ones that you want. One way that you get past, if you both want one polynomial of a specific shape and there's only one left, you'll roll a die. It's also a bit of luck, not my favorite aspect, but that one doesn't happen very often. And typically speaking, if maybe we're playing with 4 players and only 2 of us want a polynomial, it's very unlikely we'll both want the exact same one at the exact same time, but it can happen. And so rolling a dice is the way you solve that problem. I also notice people obviously who want to go fast, or they'll forget to flip this marker. It's important to flip the marker. It doesn't seem like fun, but it's useful because otherwise somebody will be like, oh, did I take my turn? I don't remember, I didn't flip it. Maybe I didn't, I want to take a turn. And then they end up taking an extra turn, and that ends up winning them the game or giving them that extra objective marker. So you have to play this game fairly, wait for everybody to finish, move on to the next round, wait for everybody to finish, and move on to the next round. Don't cut corners in the game. I love dice manipulation games, and this one is no different. I really enjoyed this one. I love the style of the game. I love the player boards. I love how everything fits into a spot and it feels good. That tactical placement feels nice. Taking my androids off of my grid here that I'm making a city on, placing them into my factories. The factories give me more valuable actions that I can now take to better myself, not only for the launch, but throughout the game. The different locations that I can place my die as though I'm kind of building onto it to thusly give me additional dice or additional changing to my dice. It all feels good. It feels like I'm building to something, and that's what this game does. We are stuck on the planet, have to get back up to our settlements, and we're working with other survivors to do so. Yeah, I really liked Cities of Venus. This is a lot of fun. If you don't mind kind of the end game and how that just kind of works, and it does have this kind of fair aspect to it as well, to make sure that everybody has a chance to feel like they won the game, then you're going to really like this game. The quality of the components, the artwork, the style of the game, the mechanics, all of that are a ton of fun. This is a really well thought out game, and it does a really good job. It does exactly what it's intending for you to do, which is dice manipulation at its simplest, with enough variability and changing and options throughout the game to where you feel like each game is going to feel like a different experience in not only how you choose to set up your bases and how they have a different front and back, but also the different abilities you can choose and the different stylization of how you want to move along. Yeah, it's not going to go crazy in the different variations as far as what you need to do in order to win. It's filling your board or rolling Yahtzees primarily, but it's how you do it that makes the difference, and this game has a lot of how do you do it, and I love that. Thank you for watching another Unfiltered Gamer board game review for the game Cities of Venus Survivors. If you're interested in picking up this title, there'll be a link down below in the description, and if you'd like, hit that subscribe button and bell notification button so you can see us more videos 1, 2, 3 times a week, as well as the live stream on Sundays, and we'll show you more and more games. This one was a treat. All the people I played with and really enjoyed this title, and let me know what you think about it down below in the comments. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching, and as always, and I mean as always, it's been over 10 years and I keep saying the same thing, thank you so much, and as always, I look forward to seeing you guys next time.